Captured by Women is brought to you by Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, and Nido Fortigrow, your love, their future.
Welcome to the month of October, and as always, it's a pleasure to come into your homes on a lovely Saturday afternoon. October is a month where women celebrate a very important part of their bodies. We're talking about the breast. October is the pink month. We're celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You certainly know a woman out there who needs to get her breast checked. It's simple. Just walk into any hospital facility and ask for a breast screening. And also, you yourself can learn how to do it and make sure you do it at home. But as always, we are proudly sponsored by Nido, GTP, and Yum Vita. And I am doing today's show with Petra, my usual co-host. But let's get off with the topics and what we'll be discussing today. On the spin, we're talking about the presidential jet. In these difficulties, is it time for us to get a new one? Is it just that our maintenance culture is poor, or what really are the issues behind that? And some of the matters arising will certainly delve into that. Then on Big Bang, we'll also celebrate Breast Cancer Awareness Month again. We'll have a doctor in studio to tell us how to go through the steps of examining yourself and what it means when we say you have breast cancer. Also, we'll talk about the rebasing of Ghana's GDP and what it means to our pockets. Oftentimes, the finance people or the economists will throw these words over our heads, and I'm sure it doesn't translate into a CD in your pocket. So we'll find out what exactly it means to rebase the GDP. Then we'll also touch on your health and headaches and what you can do and where you can get help to make sure those headaches go away. So as you can see, our lineup is very interesting. You don't want to change that station. Stay with us here on Captured by Women, your favorite Saturday show. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more here on Captured.
On Spin today, we're spinning on the presidential jet. Is that jet going to be replaced? Is it priority for us at this point? Are we having challenges with our usual lack of maintenance? Or is this a bigger issue we need to discuss? I'm very concerned about how much it will cost us if we decide to replace the jets. But knowing that airplanes have a very long lifespan, I'm wondering if that's even necessary at this point. So is it even a priority at this point?
Interesting question there. Certainly, we know our president will need his own jet to be able to fly in and out of the country when he's been sent on, duties to represent Ghana. But again, I feel it's not the first. We had a similar incident with President Mahama, and there had been previous occurrences, I think, around Kufuor's time. So I know our jet has an issue, but I'm just hoping that if the engineers could tell us exactly what it is it that we need one? If we do, then there's no two ways about it. We must make sure a new one is acquired. But then also, it's interesting that we'll have to talk about the maintenance culture. And I think it goes across all the things we own, because we know, looking at Independence Square like this, we've run so many documentaries to say that the place is in shambles because of poor maintenance. And so I feel that maybe it's a maintenance issue, but if they're able to justify the need for a new one, because I've heard security experts also talk about the fact that if this was not the first and it's happened in previous years, then maybe there is a security issue. And so we should look at it critically. But then in our dispensation where money is hard, and of course our president has reiterated that he plans to, secure the public purse, I think it would be difficult for them to come out of that space and come and just acquire a new one. So I can foresee that this government will pass before another one will be secured. But I think it's high time, as Ghanaians, as usual, our money just has to be accounted for. If they give us good reasons, justify it indeed why we need a new one, I don't think there'll be too much noise about it.
There's also for me, I'm thinking about how was this particular one purchased and what was the due diligence that was carried out to secure this one.
Right.
And if we have to get a new one, it's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But we have to go back and find what went wrong.
Right.
Because aircrafts have a lifespan. If we're not able to utilize it for the full lifespan, what's the problem? Could it be that there was already an existing problem before we acquired it? Is there an issue of how we've maintained it so far? I really think that we need to get the point where we're not just solving problems, but we're also building institutional memory so that we can continue to develop. So we don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Because it's almost like the situation of one step forward, two steps back. And so for me, that's the issue. I totally agree that if there's a problem with it, the security and safety of the first gentleman of the land is very, very important. We can't say we're broke, so we're going to put him in his life in jeopardy. So that for me is priority. But I would really be concerned to find, or for us to get the information of what exactly the problem is, and how can we ensure that when we continue to invest in such expensive equipment and facilities, we don't lose out as taxpayers, because we pay a lot of taxes. So
but you know, there's also the talk about the vehicles, the fact that the president is using his own vehicle and all that. I think for me, it's not that big an issue if we're able to make sure that vehicle is secure enough, because oftentimes if there was to be an attack, then that would be a security breach. But if it is and it's carrying him about, after all, is that not the point of a car? To move from point A to point B. So if his vehicle is doing exactly that and is providing him the security he needs, I mean, I think we can let it be.
But the main thing.
The issue to then will be in the past. What has happened to the vehicles that we purchased for past presidents? How's the succession plan supposed to be? Where do they go? Is it that at the end of the day, because we bought it and that president is over, it's over, the car too, literally, the lifespan is over. I think we need to, these are things we put money to.
Yes,
it's not like we can throw it around.
The conversations around how we transition from government to government, we also have to look at that again, because we don't want this. We keep telling the same story.
Exactly.
After every change of government, there are things that we lose, we don't know where they are. We have to build a system where we are growing. We are learning from our past mistakes, and we're developing in a way that is progressive. Also because all of these changes cost us money. They cost us time. They cost us effort. People have worked and they've done things, and we have to begin to see that we are building consistently. And government, we have to get the point that we agree as a people that government is a continuum. We can't continue having NDC, MPP, and then we go back to square one again. And it's in everything. It's in how we're planning education. It's in how we're planning healthcare. It's in how we're responding to the needs of our people. And so these are just symptoms of a bigger problem. These are just the indications of bigger issues in how the country is managed. And so we hope that our leaders would pay attention and try and fix what they have to fix. We hope that everyone who's supposed to do what they're supposed to do will do what they're supposed to do to ensure that Ghana is developing. We understand and we agree that the security and safety of our president and all our government officials, by extension, is of topmost priority to us as a people. And so we would agree with any call to ensure that that aircraft is safe, secure, and can take him from wherever he wants to be to wherever he wants to go. We'll take a break at this point. We'll be right back with Captured by Women. Information from the World Health Organization indicates that breast cancer is the leading cancer amongst women worldwide. Interestingly, that number is increasing, particularly in developing countries, because detection is not done in the very early stages of the disease. This month, we're going to be focusing on breast cancer, as it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we're having a discussion today around breast cancer. To help us with this discussion, we have in studio Dr. Josephine Insafo, who is a general surgeon with the breast unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Captured by Women.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So it's the month of October, and we're pledging pink. How is it that early detection is a problem, and how can we work around this problem?
Okay. Breast cancer is a disease that we must detect it early in order to cure it.
Okay.
Why is it a problem here? It's just that we don't like to come to hospital early. We need to be aware of the warning signs of breast cancer. The first thing I must say is it's not painful. That is why most women don't come to hospital. If a woman has a ball in her breast, it's painful. I'm telling you, within a day, at most 3 days, she's at the hospital begging for treatment. But breast cancer is not painful. So most women think that, oh, once there's something in my breast and it's not painful, they don't show up early. So that is why early detection seems to be a problem here. So Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are aiming to let people know that you need to come early, what the warning signs are, so that you come early because it's a disease that is curable when we get it early.
Okay.
So when you come late, we'll manage it, we'll treat it, we'll do what we can. But unfortunately, at that stage, we cannot cure. And that's what causes the problem. So like you said, the figures worldwide, we have a lot of breast cancer worldwide. In Ghana, it's the leading cause of cancer in females. You are very right. But when you look at the figures and you look at the proportions, you realize that elsewhere in the more advanced countries, they have screening programs in place. So they do detect it early. So they have a lot of breast cancer, more than we do, but they don't die as much from it as we do. So what has made a difference is the fact that they catch it early and we catch it late.
Okay.
Dr. Nsafo, well, interesting, you mentioned the fact that one of the symptoms or things people would feel is the fact that there's no pain. And we know typically with our context, people are waiting for the pain to get to hospital. So what are some of the other signs and symptoms they would experience or doctors will pick up to know that you do have breast cancer?
Yes. So breast cancer, the commonest thing to look out for is a lump in the breast. So by a lump, something small may feel like a pebble, like granules, a little something in the breast.
Okay.
That's the commonest one. But other things to look out for are bloody nipple discharge. Fluid from the nipple. Every woman can have a little bit when it's clear or white. But particularly when it looks like blood, that's a warning sign. You want to look for something like a dimple in the skin, like all of a sudden part of your breast seems to have dipped in or part is bulging out. Look out for any rash or sore, especially around the nipple. So these are all things to look out for. And don't forget your armpit as well, because breast cancer starts in the breast and goes to the armpit.
Are all breast lumps cancerous?
Okay.
So should a woman go to the hospital immediately she finds a lump in her breast?
Okay, good question. God being so good, most things in the breast will not be cancer, but you won't know till you get it checked out. And with cancer, time is of the essence. So if you notice a lump, whether it's cancer or not, you wouldn't know if the doctor does some tests to check it out. And it's better you check it out early, because if it, unfortunately, it is cancer and it is really small, we can cure you of the cancer. And you know, one reason why women don't come to hospital early is they suspect or fear that they have breast cancer. And they're afraid that when they come, we will remove the whole breast, we will cut off the whole breast. But actually, when you come to hospital and the lump is really small, we actually remove just the cancerous lump and we leave the breast, and we are able to cure you of breast cancer, save your life and save your breast.
You get checked, they say it's just a mice or a mouse or whatever else you call it.
Yes, so breast mouse is the nickname we've given to fibroadenoma. So there are a whole lot of different breast lumps and different things with the breast. The non-cancerous ones are more than the cancerous ones. So the breast mouse or the fibroadenoma is one of the non-cancerous breast lumps. But like we said, unless you've checked it out, you wouldn't know. Because so at the beginning, they both look the same.
What's the point of going through all the rigors of the treatment and still dying? Is that the truth?
It's not the truth, but the question is, why did the people die?
Okay.
And they didn't die from the treatment.
Okay.
They didn't die from the surgery. We remove people's breasts all the time, and they recover very well and safely. But what happens is, the problem with breast cancer is not just having a cancer or a lump in your breast. It spreads into your blood. So when it gets into the blood, the cells, it can go into your brain, into your lung, into your bone, your liver, and it grows there. And when it grows there, that is what eventually will kill you.
Is there an age bracket, that period where we should say, okay, when you get to this age group, then you should be doing these checks regularly?
Well, I would say right from the age of 20, every young lady should be breast aware. Very few people in their 20s get breast cancer, and we do see quite a few actually at Kolebu. But it's more common in older women, like 45, 55, and then much older women above 65 and all. But from the age of 20, you need to get into the habit of checking your breast. And the whole idea is to know your normal breast, so that the day something goes wrong in your breast, you detect it early. So if you are not used to your breast, you don't know how your breasts normally feel, you won't pick something till it's late. So from the age of 20, we advise that every woman should examine her own breasts. And in the examination of your breasts, include your armpits, also squeeze your nipple to see if any unusual fluid comes. And the timing of that should be 1 week after your menses, about 5 days after your menses, a week. Because you know during your menses, your breasts are a bit heavy. So that's not the best time to examine.
What's the role of herbal medicine? Because you know Ghanaians would always use it in, you know, the advancement of treating breast cancer.
Yeah. Good question. Very good question. Personally, and well, with the unit I work with the experience we have at Kolebu, we haven't seen one herbal medication that actually has cured anyone of breast cancer. What we experience on almost daily basis is that we find that people have tried these herbal medication, then they come see us. And by then it's late.
Too late.
We actually have people who come to hospital, get a biopsy done, we give them the diagnosis, you have breast cancer. Then we outline the plan, then they disappear. Then we see them a year later. So what happened? Where did you go? So I went and I tried this medication and that medication, and they come and it's too late. And it's really heartbreaking because you know that this person, you could have saved their life. So I have not seen one that works.
So finally, can you touch on the theme for this year's breast cancer awareness and how we plan to, you know, drive it?
Okay, so our theme is early detection and effective treatment saves lives. So early detection, that's by breast screening. So we just want all women, at least in October, come out and then get your breast screening done. We have a lot of partner hospitals who are offering that. So definitely at Kolebu, Monday to Friday, you walk into the surgical block 2 p.m. We have a team waiting to examine you. If you need any requests for further tests, we'll do that. But Kolebu obviously cannot do it alone. So we have a whole list of partner hospitals, the 37 Military Hospital, Rich Hospital, Legon Hospital, private hospitals as well. Nyaho, Lister Hospital, C&J, Cocoa Clinic, Yeboah Hospital, Trust
So pretty much almost all the hospitals.
Everybody is on board, and out of Accra actually. So VRA Hospital in Akosombo are on board, Cape Coast, Tamale Teaching Hospitals, Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. On the 29th of October, it's a Monday at 4:30 p.m. We are going to have a breast cancer information day. This will be at Accra City Hotel, and it's open to the general public. So we're inviting everybody, come listen, ask questions, and let's have an interaction and a talk about breast cancer.
And importantly, it's free.
Oh yes, it's free.
All you need is the transportation fare
Exactly.
to get there.
So, for the whole month of October, we're going to be talking a lot about breast cancer awareness, and the theme is early detection. If we find it early, you can get treatment, and that's the focus for the month. Like Dr. Nsafo has said, there's so many hospitals partnering with Kolebu to support the screening process. You can do it yourself, but you can also get medical assistance to do it. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're most
And
welcome.
we encourage everyone to go out there and please get them checked. So men, please encourage the women to get checked, and men also are susceptible to breast cancer.
Yep.
So they should check themselves as well. So
But our focus is not on them this month.
mainly
anyway.
on women. Okay. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Captured by Women. Please stay.
It's time to talk about the economy here on Big Bang 2. The fact that there has been rebasing of the gross domestic product. What exactly does this mean for Ghanaians? Does it mean it's going to put more money in our pockets? Some economists have said despite this rebasing, we seem to be going into hard economic times. Joining us in studio is Mr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie. He is an economist at the University of Ghana, Legon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us. But
Pleasure is mine.
let's start off by talking about rebasing. What is the basic underlying, principle when it comes to rebasing your country's gross domestic product? What does it mean?
That is, you rebase by changing the base year.
Okay.
The base year is usually where you hold prices constant.
Right.
So it used to be 2006. So that in the budget, the Minister of Finance will be talking about the increase in real GDP.
Right.
You hold the prices constant so that any increment in GDP will be as a result of real economic activities.
Okay.
So time and again, countries change their base year. Recently, Nigeria did it, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia. The last time Ghana did it was 2010. That was when we changed the base year from 1993 to 2006.
Okay.
So again, we changed the base year from 2006 to 2013. You rebase when you realize that certain items that affect your GDP recently were not so effective in 2006. So now you can talk about social media, the Twitters, the WhatsApp. You know, I'm not sure they were that effective in 2010 when we did the rebasing.
Do you have any indication or any sense of how mobile money transactions have impacted on GDP?
Quite significantly. I may not be able to give you figures, but it's in billions of Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And it is really helping the banking sector. So many Ghanaians are not banked. In fact, even as we speak right now, only about 30% of Ghanaians are banked. So if there is no mobile money transfer, it means that this person will have difficulties in transferring money from one end to the other. So mobile money transaction has really been very effective. I have a DSTV in my house, but before the mobile money, you have to go to the DSTV shop, waste time, be in traffic. You know, sometimes when you're at work during break time, you want to rush and go and pay. Now with mobile money, I just sit in my house, even at midnight, then you pay. So it has really facilitated transactions, and it's good. Anything technology, I think the whole world is moving into the technology space, but where Ghana we didn't try was to strengthen the agricultural manufacturing. We have jumped one step and we are in the technology, because when you take a look at the GDP, there are three sectors of the economy: agric, industry, and services. And services alone take about 52% of Ghana's GDP. When you take a look at services, buying and selling, if you go to Dubai, China, to go and buy anything and come and sell in the country, it is part of the services. Transportation, education, health, technology. So once we are moving into technology, the service sector expands. Finance, banking, insurance, they are all mobile money, they are all in the service sector. So I think that Ghana should have deepened its industrial sector, specifically the manufacturing sector, before moving into the service sector. The agric was the major shareholder, let me put it that way, the major shareholder of Ghana's GDP. Until 2007, we went into HIPIC in 2001, then came out in 2006. So the monies that we got, we instead of embarking on industrial policies, industrialization, government spent on road construction, and when you spend on road construction, even though it will increase the industrial sector, what are you constructing the road for? You are constructing the road to transport some goods and services from one end to the other. What type of goods? Goods which are not manufactured in the country, but goods which were manufactured outside and imported. So all these things, though they say since 2007, the service sector took over as a major shareholder, as I should say, in Ghana's GDP. And it is not good for us as a nation. I think that we need to go back to the drawing board and redesign our economy. We cannot allow the service sector to take over. The manufacturing sector
must dominate.
Should be, not dominate,
but
but
must
it must be looked at.
Yes.
It must be looked at. It's really going down, and it's not good, because even if you take the industrial sector, the oil sector takes a greater share. So if you take the oil out of it, the manufacturing sector recently was growing negative, and that is not good. And coming back to the rebasing, I said that the oil, we started producing oil in commercial quantities in the year 2011. So between last year and this year, the oil growth alone is about 80%, and that is something that had to be really looked at, so that we could rebase and then keep the prices constant at 2013, not 2006. The other thing that we can talk about is that the oil, usually, when we did the rebasing, it means that when you express anything as a ratio of the GDP, the ratio goes down. So for instance, if you talk about the public debt as a ratio of GDP, because it is numerator over denominator in simple mathematics, when denominator goes up, the whole ratio falls. So the debt over GDP, then the debt over GDP ratio will fall. And some economists are very, they are sounding some word of caution to government not to whet the appetite for borrowing so much, because the GDP alone, most part of the GDP is coming from the oil, and Ghana's share in the oil is less than 20%. This year, I'll give you a typical example. This year, it is in the budget that we want to produce, we estimated to produce 51 million barrels of oil, 51 million. And then the benchmark price was $65. So if you multiply 51 by 65, you are talking about some $3.3 billion. Out of this $3.3 billion, only 0.7 billion is coming to Ghana. 2.6 billion is going to the oil producers, those who drill the oil. So we cannot, put our hopes on the oil. In fact, we should be looking at the ability to pay debt and not the debt to GDP ratio. We should be looking at interest payment over the tax revenue.
So, and mentioning that, people are worried because with rebasing comes the fiscal indiscipline or the room for that laxity, and also talking about the reforms, tax policy reforms. How or what, if you had the opportunity to advise other economists or those running the country, what would you tell them to do or look at?
A lot. The country's tax revenue as a ratio of GDP before the rebasing was 16.5%, which even at 16.5% was still lower the sub-Saharan average of 20%. So we're still having some 3.5% shortage. Now with the rebasing, it has fallen down again from 16 to 13. So it means that we have a shortage of 7% of GDP to look out for. So a lot to be done. Another thing that makes it even more imperative to reform our taxes and collect more revenue here is that since we gained the middle income status, the foreigners' contribution to our budget has been declining. Last year, they gave us 1.5 billion cedis. This year, it has been reduced by 1 billion. It is now 587 million. So it means that we cannot look at anybody to give us any help again. We have to help ourselves. If you are
because
matured,
we are pushing the agenda of Ghana beyond aid, aren't we?
Yes, Ghana beyond aid, So we have to. So a number of measures must be put in place to be able to mobilize resources domestically. I'm not talking about borrowing. I'm talking about resources where government can have his hands on and then use it to develop. Number one, we have been talking about the informal sector. I think that I heard this when I was even in secondary school, the informal sector must be taxed, they don't pay income tax. And it's true, if you have 80% of workers in the informal sector and they do not pay income tax, somebody works at TV3 as a cleaner or as a, and pays income tax. Somebody also, has a boutique. Somebody has barbering shop. Another person, all sort of informal activities at the Makola market, they have money. So, and the person puts up a house at Trasaco, and the person is not paying income tax. Somebody rents single bedroom, and the person is paying income tax. That is not fair. So, I think that area must be looked at, but it cannot be solved within a short time. It will take a long time but we must start from somewhere. And I think that is why the government has started by digitizing the address system of this. When we do things in the digital way, we will get enough people. I mean, 80% is not a small figure. They will all get there and then come back to pay their income tax. The other areas that we can look at is the property tax. Because a greater part of the property in the country are owned by the politicians, when we talk about the property tax, you are asking them to tax themselves. But it is important that we do the property tax because, there are some rich people in the country. You go to Trasaco, East Legon, Jowulu, even you go to Kumasi, Asokwa, other places. People have put up mansions. They have all sort of property. Even I was told that one plot of land at East Legon costs more than $1 million. So people have property there. And when you listen to some of the people who have their own properties there, they tell you that it's not as if they don't want to pay, but nobody comes to them.
Exactly.
But if you don't come to me, do you expect me to abandon my work and walk to your office and go and pay? No.
Well,
So
it depends on what society you're in and what the legislation is. Because in other jurisdictions, when there's a law you're supposed to pay tax, you have the onus is on you to walk to the taxman and pay. Otherwise, there are consequences for that. So I think that's also an issue.
Here, there's no consequences.
Yeah.
and then also the price you pay for paying the tax. I mean, if I say I talk about the price, what you lose, what you spend. I mean, you drive your car, you buy fuel, you stay in traffic, going to GRA office to pay tax. If the tax could have been paid by mobile money, if they have a short code, say *11 something hash, then you can pay. Somebody can sit in the house and pay. But if you don't digitize it and you expect physical cash, I am not for physical cash because people can embezzle it anytime. So property tax can be re-looked at. Last time I read a report on doing business in the whole world. I mean, they did it country by country, and I was very surprised to see that tax reforms in Togo is better than Ghana. Tax reforms in Togo is better than Ghana, and it means that we have to do a lot. We can mention the free zones. A number of companies are in the free zones enjoying tax holidays, and I think that we can redesign that. The mining companies, their contributions to us can be re-looked at. Taxes on cigarettes, taxes on plastic materials. You know, all these things are ways that we can, look at to raise enough revenue.
Very well. On that note, we'd like to say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Edu Owusu-Sarkodie. He is the economist with University of Ghana, Legon, and he has been saying that even though the rebasing has been done, that's not the end of it. We have other aspects to look at, making sure that we grow our economy in totality. On that note, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more here on Captured by Women. Remember, we are proudly sponsored by Nido, Yamvita, and GTP. Stay with us. So in times where weddings, parties, and things are all in vogue, everyone wants to do something creative. Talking about invitation cards. This is not my passport. This actually is someone's wedding invitation. And also this beautiful fan is a program. And this is what we're going to be discussing with our career woman of today. She is Charlotte Podo, the CEO of Invitation Hub Ghana. Welcome to Captured by Women, Charlotte.
Thank you.
So let's start off. This is very creative, let me say the least. Why would someone think of doing a wedding, invitation in the passport forms? But you are the creative person, so tell us how you came about all this, where it started from.
Oh, okay. So I have a graphic design background.
Okay.
And so I had to leave work. When I completed school, I wasn't doing graphic design.
Okay.
I was working in a financial institution. So I had to leave all that and then come home after marriage. Then the baby started coming. So when I was home and I was like, oh, I want to go back to graphic designing. What do? I want to start something different from the general posters and all those. So invitation cards came in mind. Okay. So I was researching and I came across handmade invitation cards. Okay. And so I dipped into it, and then I found that I can make those, starting something different. Yes.
But wasn't there that fear of the unknown? Because like you said, you had a job that was paying you, and now you are coming to start something where you have to pay yourself. Yes. How easy was it to get there?
Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but the plan was to finish giving birth to our 3 children. Then after that, then I go back to work. But I calculated, and it would be 5 years
of being
home. So I was like, I can't stay home doing nothing. Right. Let me start something. So when I start, by 5 years, it would have grown. Okay. So that was how I started.
That's a very nice calculation. Yeah, because and how long have you run the business?
For 4 years now.
So you're almost close to the 5 year period. That's exciting to hear, because usually when you start something, the fear is, would anybody want my service? How will I make money? Yes. And you've been able to tell us the transition of, so you were getting clients once in 6 months, and now you have clients every week. So now you're fully booked and you're busy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How does that feel in relation to when you first started?
Well, when I first started, it wasn't going well. At a point, I was like, oh, I wanted to stop, look for job, get money,
and then start the business, because I didn't push much money into it. So it was slow, but I was thinking it was better than doing nothing at all.
What has been, you know, the impact of social media in particular in pushing your brand?
It's been very powerful. Social media is a very powerful tool. So when I started, I didn't know social media. I had to learn. So through that, I learned that I have to promote my page every week. So I had to get some funds and then promote it once. At first, it was once in a month. Once in a month. So whenever I promote, I get calls and all that.
So how do you come about with the concepts? Would it be the person who wants the invite, or you give ideas, or how do you go about it?
I give ideas. Sometimes it's the client. Okay, so this client wanted something different that has not been seen before, and then she mentioned passport. So I haven't seen it before, so I have to go and research on it. Passport invitations, how they are done, and then I came up with a sample for her, and she liked it.
And this is an invitation to a wedding.
Yeah, it's an invitation.
And it's got the reception as well.
Yeah, the visa as the reception card.
Let's go on to how you balance this with life as a wife and mother
Of 3 children.
It needed the same attention as the family, so it was very difficult, the creating of the invitation cards. So what how I work, when they sleep in the night, I normally work in the night. When they sleep, then I do the work. I can stay throughout the whole night, so morning. Yes. So daytime, I will take care of them. When they are having their nap in the afternoon, then I'll also
go back to work.
No, I'll also have my nap, because I haven't slept
the whole night. Right.
Yes. So that was how I was doing it. During the daytime, they will have to eat. They will have to do this, and you have to cook. You won't get the concentration to do it. Even if you are doing it, you make a mistake, because
your mind is somewhere.
So I normally do it in the night, the designing and then the assembling, everything in the night.
How will people get in touch with you?
Okay, I'm on social media, Invitation Hub GH, on Facebook and on Instagram.
Okay. Any phone number we can reach?
Yes, 0244 219027.
And on that note, we'd like to say a very big thank you to Charlotte Poto. She is the CEO of Invitation Hub GH, and you've seen all these creative pieces handcrafted. You certainly want to contact her to get your invite made. I'd like to say a very big thank you to you once again. And we promote Made in Ghana goods, so make sure you go and get her contacts, and then at least reach out to her so she creates something beautiful as this for you. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more here. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Lifestyle here on Captured by Women, today we're discussing headaches. I'm sure you have had a headache in your lifetime, either from stress, hunger, tiredness, whatever it is. So many causes. But joining us in studio today is Dr. Nashile Dodo. She is the CEO of Nova Wellness Center, and she's going to tell us exactly what it means to have a headache and what you can do about it. Good afternoon and welcome to Captured by Women.
Thank you so much, Nana.
So let's talk about headaches. It's a broad topic. Everybody has had one for whatever reason. The fact that you don't have money, the fact that you are tired. But what really is the cause of headaches, the common ones we know?
Great. So headaches are very common. I always tell my patients they are common but not normal. So it's very, very important for people not to ignore it, because a lot of the times people say, oh, as for headache, everybody gets a headache, it's okay. But it's usually a sign that there's something going on which should be checked. Like you rightly mentioned, you could be hungry, you could be stressed, you could be thirsty. Dehydration also causes headaches a lot. So all the different causes people must know, so that when a headache comes on, they know how to address it.
How do we ensure that we're properly hydrated to prevent dehydration and headaches that are resultant in dehydration?
Great question. So you're right. There are a lot of people who don't drink water at all. They just, either forget or they would rather take other drinks,
Yeah.
so many different ones. So, but it's very, very important to keep hydrated throughout the day because our bodies are mostly water, really. It's about 70% water. So if you are not constantly rehydrating your muscles, your tissues, all the body's different organs won't function properly. So to keep hydrated, I always recommend about 3 liters of water a day.
How will we know this is a dehydration related headache, broke type of headache,
Okay.
mommy stress headache?
Okay.
How do we know?
So all those ones that you've just mentioned, the dehydration, stress, we put them together as tension headaches.
Okay.
So usually you would feel like a tightness around your temples, or you feel like it's coming down into your shoulders type of thing. Those we typically call tension headaches. And most of the time, once you give the body what it wants, whether it's food or water or rest, tension headaches will tend to go away on its own.
Okay.
We also have cluster headaches, we have sinus headaches, we also have migraine type headaches, and that's a term that people like to throw around a lot. So I have a migraine, not really. So migraine headaches can also be common, but they are more debilitating. So it's more severe when you have a migraine. People who have a real migraine may not be able to sit in such a lighted room like we're in right now. Sometimes it's a certain smell that will just bring on the headache, and until that smell gets away from your system, that headache wouldn't go away.
The best practice to always pop paracetamol or aspirin or Advil when you have a headache?
I don't recommend it at all, because first of all, you don't know what is causing the headache. If you're hypertensive and you haven't taken your antihypertensive drugs in a while and you're having a headache, and you go and take a paracetamol or a painkiller, that obviously you may feel better
for a while,
but that's the problem, because the cause of the problem is still there.
So you're just covering it up.
You are just covering it up, and then when it gets really bad, a lot of bad things can happen.
Maybe you have a problem with your eyes and then they're having headaches, and they relate that to the problem with the eyes or the need to get glasses. How do you know if this type of headache has to do with my eyes?
Great question. So with headaches from your eyes, usually you may have eye pain as well, or you may feel like there's pressure in the eyes. It may be teary. You may have some blurred vision. So in addition to the headache. So when that happens, then you need to go in and see your ophthalmologist or optometrist to help you out.
I have a final question. Actually, 2 questions.
Sure.
One has to do with headaches, and we've seen recently a lot of articles and comments around sex helping headaches go away.
Okay.
How true is that? Because
Right.
a few of my colleagues in the production team are whispering, ask the question, how true is that?
All right. So not only headaches, but you see, when you have sex or when you have some type of physical exercise, it releases some happy hormones, which we call serotonin. So when you have that boost of serotonin, whether it's a headache or it's back pain or neck pain, whatever it is, because of the release of the hormones which make you happy, it helps make you feel better.
Oh, so when you're sick, it can actually be a cure.
It can.
The way you're
You
saying
know,
it is
men
like
keep
people
saying
take advantage
things
of
like
it, so
that,
careful.
we feel
Very well. On that note, we'd like to say thank you to Dr. Nashile Dodo. She is the CEO of Nova Wellness Center. She has been discussing headaches, and I think the take-home message for everyone is headaches are common, but they are not normal. So make sure you see your doctor when you have one. They can certainly be of help to you to make sure that headache goes away for good. On that note, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more here on Captured by Women.
Well, I guess it's true what they say. Time flies when you're having fun. All too soon, we've come to the end of our show. Today has been quite interesting and very engaging, I must say. We've discussed the issue of the presidential jets, and I guess it's our general consensus that the safety and security of our president, and by extension, government officials, remains paramount. But we would like to know really what the issue with that jet is. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we had Dr. Nsafo here today to talk to us about the theme for the month being early detection and treatment. And we hope that you all go out there and get screened. You encourage the women in your life to get screened and to continually find out more information around the breast so that we can keep them healthy. We had our lifestyle segment where we spoke about headaches, and we did get some interesting revelations around how sex releases happy hormones into your system and can actually cure headaches. And of course, on our Career Woman segment, we had Charlotte Podo, who is the CEO of Invitation Hub Ghana, who showed us a very lovely handmade invitation cards. We hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed presenting it. And we hope that you'll join us same time next week. I've been Petra, and I've had Nanama co-hosting. Rosemont will be back next week. We want to thank our sponsors, Yamvita, Nido, and GTP. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you same time next week. Bye.
Captured by Women is brought to you by Yumvita, a delicious way to grow, and Nido 40 Grow, your love, their future.